Hi, today's exercise is dealing with the idea of a blind contour drawing. So we're going to be doing several different contour drawings this term. We're going to start out with this exercise in observation. So these are quick warm-up exercises. Typically artists don't submit blind contour drawings as finished artwork, but sometimes the images turn out really interesting and unusual and funny or distorted, and so they're kind of fun to look through anyway, but usually it's not considered a final art form, although you will see blind contour drawings by very famous artists in their sketchbooks, and so it is a really valuable exercise to get you familiar with the object and to hone your powers of observation. So the whole idea about drawing accurately from life is really noticing subtle things about the object and capturing those details that make the object really feel lifelike and unique. And one way we can do that is to do this practice exercise that frees us from the expectations that the drawing's going to turn out good. And it really just is all about getting into this sort of meditative state where you're working very slowly and you're just letting your eye travel across the object that you're drawing, and at the same time your hand is following the same course very slowly. So I've heard this exercise compared to imagining that your pencil is like a little ant, a little insect on the surface of the object, and as it slowly crawls across the object, your pencil is following that same path and recording the information that you're seeing. So this isn't a quick sketchy kind of drawing. And another thing that I'd like you to remember is you're not going to be looking at the paper at all. You're going to be so focused on the object itself and studying all those details of your hand or of the thing that you're drawing that you shouldn't be peeking at your paper repeatedly and worrying about how the lines are lining up and whether the drawing looks like the object that you're trying to draw. Don't have expectations that things are going to match up in a realistic way. So some of the key things to remember on this are, I would like you to try to make your lines very slow and deliberate. So don't get scribbly and careless about this. This should be a really focused recording of information. And I'd like it to be a continuous line. So what's going to happen is you're going to set your pencil down on the paper at some point. Like let's say you're drawing your hand, you might start at an outer edge of the form. And then you're describing all the information. So you're not just creating a silhouette of the outline of the hand. You're going in and you're recording all of these inner wrinkles. If you have a ring on, if you've got a watch, I want all of that stuff recorded with minutia details. And you're just going to continue your pencil on the paper. Don't keep lifting it up. Don't look at your paper at all. Just assume that wherever your eye's traveling, your pencil is going to follow along. And if your pencil drops off the edge of the page, you can then look down at your paper, reposition it, but you should not be watching yourself draw. You should only be looking at the object that you're drawing and not watching yourself draw. So that's really difficult, and it's probably unlike any drawing exercise you may have ever done before. So trust me that this is a worthwhile exercise, and if you do it with a good intention, you'll find that you are becoming more observant of the things that you're drawing, and hopefully you worry a little bit less about how the final drawing turns out on these exercises. So this example here is a student drawing. She did several short studies. Each one of these drawings might be 5 or 10 minutes of very slow, deliberate tracing of her hand. And it's fine that the hands ended up overlapping, and some of them maybe you can't quite tell what they're supposed to be, but that's fine. These things should look almost like monstrous in some ways and distorted. Again, if proportions look right in your final drawing, that tells me that you're looking at your paper way too much. So I really am expecting things to not line up right and to be a little bit disjointed and distorted if you're doing it right. So I'll turn off that image for a minute so you can watch me draw. So one technique for preventing yourself from looking at your paper is to turn your head like 90 degrees away from where your paper is so that you're not tempted to watch yourself draw. Another thing that you can do, and they do this in some of these elementary art classes where they teach this process too, is they have the kids poke a hole in a paper plate and insert the drawing tool through there. So I'm going to be drawing with this pen instead of a pencil. If you choose a pencil, choose one of your softer pencils like 2B pencil, or if you have a Sharpie marker, that works too, although sometimes it really bleeds through your paper. And what that does is this creates a little parasol so you're not able to see what your hand is doing, and that way you're not tempted to kind of watch your drawing as it develops and you're focused on just the thing that you're drawing. So I'll see if this will work out okay. My view of my hand is a little bit different than the camera's view of my hand, so my drawing might look a little bit different. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be starting with my eye at one edge of my wrist, and I'm going to work my way up very slowly. I'm going to try to capture all of these little wrinkles as I move my way along. I might have to backtrack, so if I get to a dead end, I might have to go back over a line, but I'm going to try to notice, you know, these subtle angle changes. I'm going to try to notice the shape of my fingernail. If you have, you know, again, any jewelry or watches or anything, try to include those things. It's best if you can make your hand into a complex shape. Like this is very boring because we all kind of know what a hand is supposed to look like, and then we get lazy and we just start to go way too fast. So if you force yourself to, you know, let's say your fingers are in a sign language sign or something, it's a more complex form, and hopefully it will force you to slow down and work a little bit more deliberately to capture the information. So start with a kind of complex angle, maybe a foreshortened view, like your fingers pointing right at your face instead of just a traditional side view. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and work kind of slowly. I'll work a little faster than I'd expect you to work, just so that this demo doesn't take, you know, 20 minutes. But I do want to kind of talk you through what I'm doing. So I might even start at the cuff of my sweater and slowly move my way up, kind of navigating along the little ridges along the sweater, back and forth. And again, you don't necessarily have to capture every detail as you go across, but it's easiest while you're in the neighborhood to try to capture all those marks. So, do. And again, I'm not quite sure if the scale is going to be correct. Now I'm doing the hem on my, or the wrist of the black part of my sweater. I'm coming up the right side of my hand now, and I'm going to go across and get those few little wrinkles that are at the palm of my wrist. I notice that there's some curves here where the muscles of the palm of my hand are. So I keep backtracking. I get to a dead end and then I retrace the lines if I need to. I'm coming up the edge of the pinky now, and the tip of the finger is overlapping the rest of the finger, so there are parts of that finger I can't see, but I'm going to move around the edge. I got to a dead end, so I have to backtrack now to get to my ring finger, and I'm coming down along the tip of my ring finger. While I'm there at the tip, I'm going to draw that fingernail that's kind of foreshortened. And again, if you can't locate the outer contours of the finger, you can go across the inner contours. So those might be some of the wrinkles that cross over the fingers. And now I'm at the pointer finger that is also foreshortened. So I don't see that middle joint of that finger very much at all. I just see sort of the end of the finger. And I'm going to draw the fingernail again. It's just almost like a crescent shape. I think I've drawn the tip of the finger before, but I'm going to draw back over it to get back to the first finger. And while I'm here, I notice all these little wrinkles at the pad of that first finger and at the crevices. So anyway, my pencil is just staying in contact. I'm not doing any lifting of the pencil. I come across the top of the finger. I'm coming down now toward the thumb a little bit. And this is the point where I'm going to come in and do all those wrinkles in the palm of the hand. So I'm drawing all these little cracks and crevices. And again, I'm working a little faster than I'd like you to work, just so that the demo doesn't take forever. But okay, now I'm coming up to the wrinkles in the thumb. Notice it kind of radiating from that point where the thumb connects to the rest of the palm. And I've got wrinkles coming up on the back side of the thumb, and little wrinkles on that first knuckle, back to the outer edge again, down this side, and then there's wrinkles on the wrist too that I'm going to draw in. And I've come back to kind of the dead end of my starting point. So this is what I ended up with. You can see there's a good amount of distortion. This finger ended up being a lot bigger than say the pinky finger and the wrist, so things are not in proportion, but I've got quite a bit of information there. I'm noticing things like how this shape of the fingernail changes when it's foreshortened compared to how it would look if it were flat. So you know, there's a fair amount of information. I was trying to be pretty specific with how these angles change here along my thumb, and so that would be one drawing. That was, you know, maybe 2 minutes or something. Try to work a little bit slower than that. And then you can fill your page. You can do a second one here. You know, they don't all need to be oriented the same way. Maybe just start another drawing here. If they overlap accidentally, since you're not looking, that's just fine. And do several drawings. So I'm going to give you a list of objects that you can choose from, and as far as ideas go, but I'd like you to spend a fair amount of time working on these warm-up blind contour drawings for this next assignment. So the details will be in the assignment page itself. Thank you.